Let's get more on this from Ali Mustafa, who's in Turkey, in Gaziantep, near the border with Syria. Ali, the Russian truce then coming into effect. What is the latest on the ground that you're hearing?
Well, I think that clip that we just heard kind of sums it up. There is confusion as to what this truce actually means. When it was announced a few days ago, the idea was that the Russians would extend an air moratorium over rebel-held parts of eastern Aleppo, and that this corridor, this 10-hour moratorium, would provide ample time to the rebels and to people in need, like the desperate in need of humanitarian aid, for example, to leave through 6 or 7 humanitarian corridors, 2 of which would be reserved for rebel movement. But as we have seen and we've heard from the ground, an air moratorium doesn't necessarily mean that fighting has stopped on the ground. We saw this in the last ceasefire, unilateral ceasefire that was proposed by the Russians, when Syrian regime forces, despite this so-called truce, kept on moving in and attacking rebel positions and civilian areas under the control of the rebels. So there's a lot of uncertainty that this truce, which started at 7 GMT on Friday and will end at 7 p.m. local in Aleppo, if this is a viable option and if the rebels will subscribe to it, which it seems they are not.
You mentioned there that the rebels are not subscribing to this truce. I'm sure the picture is complicated further by the fact that those rebels, are they acting as one voice? I mean, what are the groups here making up the rebels?
The thing is that they're not acting as one voice. That's a very interesting point. You have Ahrar al-Sham, for example, attacking on its own violation against regime-held parts of western Aleppo. You have Jabhat al-Fatah al-Sham, the group formerly known as Al-Nusra Front, with ties to Al-Qaeda, which it says it's severed. It's launching in the front on another area of western Aleppo and regime-controlled parts. So there are many different factions, up to a dozen factions that make up this rebel alliance in a rebel-held eastern Aleppo, and so to ensure that all of them subscribe to a unilateral ceasefire imposed by the Russians is asking for too much. And at the same time, where there has been clarity is that all these rebel groups have said that they will not subscribe, that they don't trust the Russians or the regime. So yes, a very complicated situation on the ground, Paul.
Okay, Ali, thank you very much.